My name is Cornell. I'm a first cousin of Teresa Brown, which is Courtney Brown's cousin. So I make Kim and Courtney Jr. my second cousins.
And so, how much older than you are, Courtney?
I'm 8 years older than Courtney Jr. He's the same age as my brother Spencer, and they grew up together. They did a lot of things together as far as going to the Super Bowl. Like in 1975, they went.
Wait, before let's back.
Okay.
Let's stay back being kids.
Okay.
So when you were, what age did you? When did you start coming around that a lot? Like you told the story about being sent over. Tell us a story about being sent over. You said on Christmas morning or something. Mark Twain. You saw that table full of dope.
My earliest memory was my mother and father had separated. And my father went to stay at this house on Mark Twain Street. And that morning, I woke up in the morning, and I hear these men talking in the kitchen. And they're standing around the table. And I peeped in the kitchen, and it was a pile of white substance on the table. I had no idea what it was.
What do you think it was? No,
it was heroin.
How big was the pile?
The pile had to be like 4 feet high.
Like a couple keys.
It was. I never seen nothing. I didn't know what it was, but my father, he ushered me back in the room and told me to go across the street to another house on Mark Twain where my cousin Teresa was. And mind you, I don't know what's going on. I'm like 12 years old, and I walk in the house. She greets me and opened the curtains. And she opened the curtains, and they were electric. And I'm like, I never saw nothing like that in my life. This had to be late 69, early 1970.
What did you think of your? I guess Courtney Sr. would have been sort of like your uncle. I mean, what did you think about them, or what did you think was going on, or you didn't?
Before then, I had no idea because I remember Courtney just being a bus driver. When I see him, he used to have his DSNR uniform on. Then the next time I see him, a couple years later, as I grew up, he was wearing suits and driving fancy cars. And it was just like,
it happened overnight.
He's right. I can remember my mother and father gave a party, and Courtney and Teresa came, and they were talking. And the next time I seen them, it was on Mark Twain.
That morning, when you saw the dope.
Not the next morning. This was a couple years going by. Right. And it was something out of a movie.
So kind of in the space of you seeing them a year or two passes, they went from being kind of a typical working class black family to, hey, something unique is going on there.
Like a 2-year period.
They went from normal to.
That's the best of my recollection. And as I remember the house on Mark Twain, as I was saying about the electric curtains, I was amazed by that. Then Teresa went to cooking me breakfast in the kitchen. Courtney's right. Exactly. That's Courtney Jr.'s mom. And she had a refrigerator. The refrigerator had the ice cube maker and the cold water maker dispenser on the outside of the refrigerator. And I'm like, am I in a Jetsons movie or what? And so she tell me to go downstairs to get some milk out of another ice box. As I go downstairs, I see all these paper bags on the floor. And at that time, we had the store called A&P, and they used to stamp their name on the bags. And as I'm looking in the refrigerator, I look over, and the basement is full of these A&P bags, and they had money in each and every one of them. I mean, it's just money in every bag to the top. And I was like, what is going on?
So you're what age?
I'm like 12 years old.
So when did you get involved with going down to the Hancock? How did you get asked to start working at Hancock? And what did you do there? And what did you see? And what did you think about what was happening?
With the Hancock Street building, my father was the caretaker there. And I used to come visit my father. And at this time, Courtney and Eddie used to be in and out of the building. And they had other tenants in the building. And so they gave me the job, but when I get out of school, to come over there and vacuum the floor, tidy up the building, outside the building. And I used to come over there all the time and help my father. And also, my father used to tell me, do not go in the basement. But me being a young guy and, being mischievous, I go in the basement anyway. And I see the same thing again. A&P bags full of money, but only this time, another section of the basement had A&P bags with these little brown packages in them, with what we know as eighths. And each bag was filled all the way to the top. And so by this time I know what's going on. And I see the guys come and go out of the building, and these women used to come over.
Did you understand how the actual logistics like of what they like how they were actually running it? Did you see that how a customer would come, like how did the whole thing work?
No, I never. It was no customers coming to the building. It just was carriers coming to the building to pick up packages. I never seen nobody come there to buy no drugs. I just seen people come there and get packages. Large, a whole bag full of eighths. I never seen nobody come get a single nothing. It was just bags. They were,
What year was this?
This had to be like 71, 72.
How much money do you think they were doing a day?
I have no amount. I could not even begin to tell you. And I didn't see a lot of money in my lifetime. I could not even imagine how much money that was.
What did you think about all this?
I wanted to be a part of it.
You didn't think there was nothing wrong with it?
No.
You're seen as the fun end.
Right. I mean, I seen my family. I seen my father there. I seen one of my uncles there. And I seen Courtney Sr. there.
So it's like being at the family's house.
Right.
Can you talk about how it was a real family atmosphere kind of?
It was like basically all my uncles they did something within that enterprise. They had some kind of doing, I never felt uncomfortable. It was never like it was illegal.
What about going to the store for Eddie?
Oh, I used to be at home. I stayed down in the Martin Luther King homes. And the house on Hancock, I used to have to catch the bus from school. My father would call me and say, the fat man wants you to go to the store for him.
Who was the fat man?
That was Eddie Jackson, because he had a room upstairs. He had an apartment upstairs in the building. And I used to come over there. He used to give me $100 to go to the store for him. All he wanted was an orange pop. I used to have to catch the bus from Lafayette and Shane all the way to Hancock and John R. just to go to the store for him for an orange pop, and he would give me $100.
What interacting with Eddie Sr., like what was he like? What was your impression of him?
I didn't have too many interactions with him. All I know, he just was a big guy. He used to wear the old coverall jeans. He used to go in his room. He used to go in his apartment. He used to tell me, he used to give me the money and say thanks. And that was it. I didn't have too many interactions with Eddie.
What about Courtney Sr.?
It was like he was always on the go. He was the businessman. People would come and talk to him, and he was like he was giving directions. He was like he was the facilitator. I didn't never see him get loud with nobody. I never seen him with a confrontation with nobody. He was always cool. He was always cool.
Is that how the operation was in general, or did you sometimes see would Eddie play the heavy sometimes and get loud with people, or did you ever see that?
I never seen compared today how I seen different other cultures of this drug trade going, and no, it was just smooth all the time. A well-oiled machine all the time. All the time.
So you're working at the building, and then at some point they decide they don't want to do anything in the building anymore. Do you remember when that happened?
I'm not for sure exactly when it happened, but
you weren't there every day. You would just
right.
Hey, come do this or that.
I would come and go as my father would call me, or some days I just pop up over there from school.
As a couple more years passed and they were getting bigger and bigger, did you get involved with them in any kind of way?
No, I never got involved in the enterprise. But in itself, me and my brothers, we became celebrities because people knew that we were family. We like 15, 16, and 17.
Where were you celebrities at?
In school, in the neighborhood, Martin Luther King High School. And I used to stay we stayed in the Martin Luther King homes. And there's been times when me and my friends used to sit on our front porch and Teresa would pull up in a brand new car. It's like one time we were sitting on the front porch. She pulled up. A blue Fleetwood pulls up. We don't know who it is. I never seen them with a blue Fleetwood. She get out the car, heard my mom talking, and she say, "This is our new car, special made Fleetwood. It only seats 4, and it's only 10 was made in the United States, and we got one of the 2 that was sent here to Detroit." And I'm like, this is gonna stop. This is like something I never seen nothing in the movies like this. What was going on? It was always something new that was going on.
Treating you like celebrity. Like, what do you mean by that? Were people trying to get next to you because they figure they get some money out of it, or what do you mean by that?
Well, it was like it was some older guys in the neighborhood, and they knew what was going on, and they was like, "Can we say something to my cousin? Can we get them something or whatever? Something to that effect." They thought, but they didn't know that we wasn't in a part of it like that. And then it was like, we used to have girlfriends, me and my brother, going to high school. We used to drive out to Southfield and show these people, our cousins live in that house there. And by word of mouth, it was, they people are rich, they got money, and it was like that all through high school.
What were the houses like out in Southfield?
What was the houses like in Southfield?
I mean, their house.
Their house. I can't. It's like when the first time I walked in their house, I'm talking about it was like it was magical. Powder blue carpet. I mean, yellow carpet, powder blue furniture, and a black baby grand piano. I didn't see stuff like that on TV. And there's a stairwell leading up, stairs to the bedroom, and it was like a tri-level house. And I'm like, it's undescribable for me being like 12 and 13 at that time and seeing things of that nature. It was just undescribable. I used to tell my friends about that, and they used to be, well, after we took these girls out there to ride around and see the house, everybody wanted to ride out there and see the house.
So as the years are going by, and then they start getting in trouble, you're seeing them on the news. I mean, what was that like? Or as you're seeing these people, your family members in some cases, in these newspaper articles, top drug dealers in Detroit. I mean, what was that?
It was like, it was a blow. Looking at Channel 7, and they were saying all these things, and I was like, I was hurt. Because I didn't think they was never really doing nothing wrong, that they wasn't hurting nobody.
Yeah, describe the difference. So, also when you were growing up, when you were in 71, 72, 73, as you're, 15 or something, that's when violence in Detroit starts escalating. But this organization was different. Kind of talk about and compare and contrast the way that while Detroit was getting really out of control and drugs and people getting shot and killed and Earl Flynn's and BKs on the east side, all that type of stuff, contrast how they were.
Well, we talking about older men compared to young guys.
What was Detroit? First of all, what was Detroit like in the early to mid '70s? How was it changing? What was good about it? What was bad about it? And what was changing?
The changing is the atmosphere got younger, it got wilder, because I was a part of that scene. Earl Flynn's, BKs, off the east side, the gangs, chain gangs. I was a part of that. And
what was going on with them?
It was just, they just was doing senseless things. But you had gangs like the Earl Flynn's, they was separated themselves, even though they was a gang and violent like the rest of them, but they pride themselves on getting money. All the other gangs was fighting about don't go to this neighborhood, don't go to that neighborhood. Earl Flynn's was downtown breaking in jewelry stores, breaking in the clothing stores, and they were selling drugs. But as I look at the other gangs, they wasn't on the level of doing the things like the Earl Flynn's was doing at that time. But I never seen, but you talking about, I wouldn't say I was a part of them. I hung out with them. I hung out with a lot of different sets at that time, but I was never really, I couldn't say I was just a part of a gang.
Did you get involved in any, trying to make money stuff, or you had it easy at this point because you were connected with them?
It was easy for me a lot of years, but still, I wanted, as I got older and I seen the ramifications of the money, the lifestyle, I wanted to be just like that.
Tell us about you and Courtney Jr. and then how you saw Courtney Jr.'s relationship with his father and just the family atmosphere over there during the midst of all this drug activity going on.
As far as my relationship with Courtney Jr., it's I can't say in words the bond that we got, because we've been there and we seen it. And I know the level I've been on growing up, and I know the level that he's been on. And through, us growing up and where we at today, we look at what's going on in the city, and it's like these guys don't have a clue.
What was he like as a kid?
He put him inside the candy store and get whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted it.
What was the relationship did you see with him and his father?
It was a loving relationship. It wouldn't be, you would think, it's not the typical, for me, dope dealer son relationship. He always wanted better. Like we look at the Cosby shows and things like that, how they successful and all that. And then you look at the Brown kids. I mean, that's an American story in itself.
What did they end up going on to do?
They were successful businessmen and women, professional people.
Right. She had a law degree.
Right. And I mean, I look at all these gangster movies on TV about they sending their kids off and they become successful and things like that. But this is the only black family I've seen do that. They really did it. I mean, that turnaround, they did it. This is a black American dream, because we can sit up and talk about how all the white stories about how the mother and the father was selling dope and the kids went off to college, but this is a black family did the exact same thing, and this is a story that need to be told.
What about taking me wrestling?
Taking Courtney Jr. to wrestling was better than working on Hancock, because I knew I had at least $150 put in my pocket.
And how old was he?
He had to be about 8 years old.
And who would call you? Like, how would that work?
His mother, Teresa, would call me and say, you feel like taking Courtney wrestling this weekend? I was like, sure. It used to be Courtney, myself, and my brother Spencer. Now, we stayed in the downtown area in the Martin Luther King homes. We used to walk to Cobo Arena. We used to walk there every Saturday, watch Bobo Bazier, Lou Klein, Andre the Giant, and Courtney would he'd get the brochure for the wrestling match. He would get all the dolls, whatever they were selling, he would get.
And mom would give you the money.
Give me the money.
How much would you give?
Oh, she might give me $200.
And tickets were what, $5?
Right. Y'all just get whatever you want. It was cab fare in there, to and from, but we would walk. And we was never short on getting anything that we wanted to buy when we go to the wrestling matches. We were there. We had all the memorabilia, whatever we wanted to buy. We was the only black kids in Cobo Arena buying brochures to a wrestling match, telling them the whole history of the wrestlers.
As you were moving around doing all this unique stuff, both in your neighborhood community and also when you were around white mainstream, I mean, who do you think people thought you guys were, like Motown kids or,
Well, no, they probably thought we were related to the Motown kids. Because it's people see you out and they know who your relatives is and they add on to that. But a lot of things people added on to it isn't true, because when me and my brothers got of age and we started doing our own thing, they put us with Courtney Sr., but it wasn't like that.
Tell us about that. Yeah, so Courtney and them get in trouble in the mid-70s and go away kind of when you're probably 19. How old were you when they actually went to prison?
I was like 18. I was 18.
When they went to, can you say when they went to prison?
Yeah. When they went to prison, I was 18 because I went off to the Navy.
And then how'd you get involved in doing stuff yourself?
Coming home
What year?
from the Navy in 77. No, in 1980, coming home, 1980 from the Navy, and it was just we knew a lot of major players. Me and my brothers and my sisters, we knew a lot of major players, and we just did our own thing.
Which was?
Heroin.
Where at?
Then the Brewster Projects. We was all over. During the time we were selling drugs, is the time of the Young Boys, the Pony Crew.
How were you guys compared with them?
We didn't get the notoriety they did, but
Getting just as much money?
yeah.
How much money were you guys making?
Oh, I can't say for sure how much money we was making. We might collect maybe like $150,000 a day on the streets.
From just the area around the Brewsters?
No, Brewster's, Jeffries, East Side Detroit, Southwest Detroit. We was in every major drug spots in the city.
Did you never had any conflicts with YBI or Cornell?
Oh, it was a few conflicts, but they everybody knew everybody. All the heads knew everybody, so it really wasn't no conflict. See, at that time, a lot of people don't talk about the crew I was on. I don't want to mention the name, but it was,
Strong.
we was strong. Even though we was at that time, we was the third tier of the Ponies and Young Boys, but we held on.
Did you ever get in any trouble?
Yeah, I've been in plenty of trouble.
Tell us about that.
Well, the trouble I got in is direct result of selling drugs and started using drugs. So that led to prison.
What year was that?
Well, it's been off and on for a few years. It started in 87. But I haven't been back to prison in over 12 years.
You have anything, guys, and all, just that kind of home life type stuff?
I can remember going out I used to go to the house out in Southfield on the weekends, and Teresa wanted me to wash the windows. And when I go to the houses, Hancock, Mark Twain, Southfield, I knew when I leave the house, I would have at least a couple $100. And just think, me going to high school at that time, and
1971.
I'm the man. And it was never a time. Courtney might be going out, we might be raking leaves in front of the house or cleaning the windows, and the basketball will always be under the basketball rim, and he'd throw the basketball, come on. I ain't too old, I'll whoop you, I don't care how you are. We used to sit out there and play basketball. He used to bet me. He used to bet me that I couldn't whoop him. I never whooped him in basketball. And I used to think I can whoop him. I never did.
What was the house like? Well, we talked about it a little bit, but talk about playing with him and all the stuff him and his sister had.
Well, it was like they had a remote control garage. We used to come over there. And they had one on their bike. And I'm like, as I say, this is like the Jetsons, something I never seen on the movies. They had remote control garage opener on the bike. And I had a little younger brother and sister, Pam and Spencer. They used to come out there. And they used to come over their house on the weekends. And when they used to come back home Sunday night, it's like they've been in Macy's. They used to come home with bikes, bags of clothes. And I'm like, I wish I was younger so I can get some of this stuff too. And it's toys. You come out of Southfield, toys, the swimming pools. It was just like, it's undescribable.
And what was your home life like?
My mother. See, my mother.
Were you guys?
It was 7 of us. It was 7 of us. Well, I don't look at us like being poor, because we as family. Our grandmother, You know, I had grandmothers on both sides, and they make sure, we was our, But my father and all his brothers, they was in the life. Always
A lot of
pimps.
times with Eddie and Courtney.
No,
Well, not necessarily.
no. I had an uncle that's, he was a pimp. He's come over out. I used to be glad to see him. So we was always in the life. But see, my mother was a school teacher. And my father is Teresa's uncle. And my mother taught Teresa and her sister, their ABCs. She used to live with them when they was young girls. So it was a real close-knit family. It's not like we was never poor. If we went without, it was a temporary situation. It wasn't like we walked around with holy shoes and socks and stuff to that.
But it was definitely a big difference.
Oh, without a doubt, it was a big difference.
Fast forward a little. So you started, you were mixed up in the streets yourself, early 80s. Courtney and Eddie are in prison.
Mm-hmm.
When you started really getting into selling drugs yourself and then later using drugs, how was that time period different? How was the early 80s different from the mid 80s different from the early 70s?
The difference is like everybody lost their mind. It just wasn't no honor no more. I mean, the killings and the beatings were senseless. I can look back, I can remember as being a young boy, and I seen different situations, not with Courtney and Eddie, but just people in general that was selling dope. If they owed somebody some money, they just stopped messing with them. It was over with. That was it. I just ain't gonna mess with you no more. But then it came along, they were just beating people, killing people. It was senseless.
What was some crazy things you might have witnessed?
Oh man, I can't do it. I didn't see. I didn't been in situations where a guy might owe someone some money, and he can't pay him, and he's like, "Well, you got your daughter in the back room. Let me go back there with her, and we'll kill this bill." But the situation I was in, we never did nothing like that. It was about if you owe me some money, it was you. I wouldn't mess with your family and nothing like that. It's just like they just lost their mind in the late 80s. That's when the crack scene came on, and people started doing things they thought they would never do. It's just like the world went crazy when they came out with that crack cocaine. And, I was a heroin addict. I smoked crack, but I had to let that go.
You developed your own. What was the first time you used heroin?
When my mom died.
How old were you?
I was 21.
You were in the street making money already. Were you selling?
That's right on the cusp of making money.
So can you say that right around the same time you started selling drugs is right around the same time you started using drugs?
Right, but I had experimented with it before, but as far as the usage daily, when I started selling drugs.
And was that common for the young guys to be using drugs?
No, because my friends, when they found out me and my brother was using heroin, they was like, and they selling dope too? Oh, no, we don't want to be around them. We was villains. It was okay to blow some cocaine, but if you use heroin, oh, that was taboo. That was taboo.
So what did you end up going to prison for?
Guns, drugs, larceny.
Different stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pause. Okay.
I can remember leaving high school with my buddies, and we would go down on Columbia and Brush. John Iron Erskine drowned in that general vicinity. And they already thinking that my family doing all these things with the drugs and we famous in school. And I used to go down there and show them, there go my cousin right there. And they used to see Courtney and Eddie leaving out the pool room. And Courtney used to see me and call me over there to him and say, "What you doing down here? You need to go home." He did that a few times.
What was that scene like? Like what?
It was like, to me at that time, like they had a scene in American Gangster when Frank Lucas is sitting in the car undercover watching the drug traffic up the street. It was like 2 times. It's
How
like
many people were out in the street?
it was people. It was like in a maze. People was going everywhere.
And it was all about drugs.
All about drugs, and you had the pimps, the hoes. There was all kind of activity out there. It's just like
Is that what Paradise Valley used to be?
that's what they call the valley. It was in the valley.
Did you remember hearing about the better days of Paradise Valley when you were growing up?
I can remember my father and his brothers talk about it. Going to Paradise Valley. You know, the bars. They used to dress up on Friday night and go down to the bars.
Did they grow you? So your father and uncles were born in Detroit?
Yeah, they're from Hastings Street. They're the products of Hastings Street.
A little bit of history. Now, at this time when your father was superintendent over at the Hancock building, didn't Coleman Young stay across the street?
I used to come looking for my father after he called me to go to the store for Eddie. And he wouldn't be in the building. He would be around at the Chesterfield bar. And I walk up to the bar and he's sitting at the Chesterfield bar with Coleman Young having a drink.
So Coleman Young was living basically across the street from the Hancock building.
Exactly.
Who was having a drink with Coleman Young?
My father.
Oh, okay. Do you think Coleman Young, did you ever see him talk to Eddie?
No. I never
Did
seen
you
him.
know where Coleman Young lived?
I didn't know exact house he stayed in, but I knew he stayed across the street
From Hancock.
from the Hancock building. See, I remember being a young boy growing up in the Black Bottom. Used to be at the pool. Coleman Young used to be up at the pool room on Sherman and Joseph Campo.
Oh, you grew up in Black Bottom.
Right.
Was that still, what year were you born?
I was born 1958.
So when did Black Bottom kind of get leveled out?
Well, the part of Black Bottom I stayed in, it was like the last part of it. Like I stayed on Mullet and Joseph Campo, right by Duffield School, Calvary Baptist Church.
Okay.
That's where I grew up at, right
so
there.
So that was Black Bottom.
Right.
What
that was
Black
the last
Bottom?
existing part of Black Bottom.
What was Black Bottom like?
It was a neighborhood. You know, we talk about neighborhoods in the good old days. That was a neighborhood. When they talk about leaving your door open and the lady down the street or the man down the street will whoop you for doing something wrong, that was a neighborhood.
That's interesting because Rudolph and your father talking about Paradise Valley being adults, but give us your perspective on, Black Bottom as a kid.
As growing up, you know, we had school, the churches. I mean, you know, black-owned businesses, barbershops, and, you know, fathers was in the homes. No matter what, the father wasn't working, and whatever the case may be, fathers was in the home back then. You know, didn't nobody go without in our neighborhood.
Do you remember Eddie's father's pool hall?
No.
Before your time?
No, I don't remember that. No.
Looking back now as a older adult at those times and your life involved in streets and et cetera, I mean, what's your perspective on all of that, and what would you say to this generation? Do you have any regret? Do you regret some of the things you did? If so, what? If not, why?
Well, a lot of things I regret, but a lot of things I did, it brought along the experience. And a lot of people don't have to, especially black young men, don't have to travel the road I traveled. And it's a better way. But that's all I knew at that time. That's all we knew. Them was our role models. But now, that's not the road to take. You don't have to live like that. It's a better way today. But I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't take back a lot of it. But a lot of it, I won't never forget. But then I learned a lot of experience from that. And it helped me, living the life I lived and where I'm at today, it helped me be a better man.
That's awesome. You were awesome.
1973. The Detroit Free Press's front page proclaims, "Dope kingpins get away with it." They had names like Jesse James, Pretty Ricky, the Black Greek, and Mr. Clean. 2 of the 12 men listed as Detroit's biggest heroin dealers were next-door neighbors, and in reality, they were the 2 largest heroin dealers in Detroit, dwarfing the other men on the list.
Got 12 kilos. we gonna cut it 10 times at a minimum. So that'd have been 120 kilos.
The audience needs to understand the significance of black entrepreneurship.
Customer give me the money, put the money through a chute in the door. They would drop the dope down right in front of the door.
And everybody was getting money. Everybody was getting money that time.
Always bags of money coming and going in the house.
Almost to the ceiling, just a room full of money stacked to the ceiling.
Eddie had shot past everybody in the city put together.
The gentleman gangster. You meet the right people, make the right connections to make everyone happy, and do it all without having to really brandish a gun.
Nicky Bond, snitch. Frank Lucas, snitch. Where's the real ones?
I said, give me the pistol. And I said, I should blow your goddamn brains out right now.
The 750 murders last year was a record for Detroit, murder capital of the country.
This is a story about a real one. From the beginning to the end, never telling on nobody.
Eddie the Fat Man Jackson, charismatic son of a pool hall owner, and his chief lieutenant, Courtney the Field Marshal Brown, a former city bus driver, had built an empire on a par with men like Nicky Barnes and Frank Lucas of New York. But theirs was a very different and in many ways more sophisticated operation than Barnes and Lucas's, based on family ties and finesse more than murder and mayhem.
I went into that foolishness. It was business to me.
He kept it so separate, and he's my Little League baseball coach.
Family came first.
He would keep a pistol at the bottom of the Halloween bag.
Boom, 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 boom. I'm gonna shoot you right down.
We had guys working 3 shifts. They were just like they worked at Ford. We paid vacation. They worked 8 hours a day. They got paid for overtime. And we had a bunch of law workers.
Okay, I'm gonna take 250 people. I got $1 million to blow. We all gonna go down here and blow this $1 million together.
Throwing money out of the car down in the Brewster Project.
Me and Eddie used to buy 2 and 3 keys of cocaine just for our personal.
The entertainers wanted to take pictures with the likes of those men like Eddie Jackson.
You name them, we served them. Richard Pryor, the Dale, the OJ.
It's just a couple of old white guys sitting around a desk with a whole bunch of people bringing them money in. And what they were doing they were money launderers.
You know, you ask yourself questions like tobacco. How many people died last year from tobacco when we started talking about the moral value of what Eddie Jackson and others do? I'm not condoning what they do. What I'm simply saying is that there are many on that playing field.
People from Israel, there's some people from South America, there's some people from West Africa, and then it's myself.
Everybody in the city knew Eddie Jackson. And everybody knew he was on top of the pyramid. I was his right-hand man.